Good morning, all educators. My name is Jessica, and I'm the ESL Curriculum Officer of mLang. It's our honor and pleasure to have all your presence today. So I'm going to briefly to tell you what's going on in this 3-hour workshop. So the first part, Dr. Lokai Elizabeth will introduce mLang and its pedagogy to you. And the second part will have myself to briefly give you an overview of the platform. And we're so pleased to have our guest speakers, Principal Chen, Ms. Chen from Yanchai Hospital, 10 Years Primary School, and Ms. Cherry Han and Ms. S.K. Liu from Mangkwang Pakto College. And then with our break, and then we have the fourth part, we'll have a keynote speaker sharing, Ms. Nicole Tafers sharing her award-winning project, Teaching ESL. And then the second last part will brainstorm section if we still have time. And the last part will be Q&A. And we welcome all participants, all educators to ask any question in the chat room at any time. So we'll try to answer as we can. So you don't need to wait until the conclusion of Q&A. Just send up messages and we will try our best to answer you. So without further ado, I will pass the time to Dr. Low.
Thank you, Jessica. I already saw 2 questions raised by the participants, so this is a very good sign. First of all, I need to welcome you all again. The event this morning is oversubscribed, so we are very sorry that we cannot admit all the participants' registration. But I hope that you would find this free morning workshop rewarding and fruitful. First of all, I need to thank all the principal and teachers and friends and colleagues for your participation. And also I need to convey my special thanks to Nicole, my dear colleague, for her time to prepare for the workshop this morning, and also our good partners, Principal Chen from Yanchai Hospital, 10 Using Primary School, and also her teaching team, as well as Mangkwang Pakto College, and Vice Principal Brenda Fong and her colleagues. So I would like to talk a bit about the history of mLang. So may I take 1 minute to briefly introduce the development of the history, the very short history of mLang. At the very beginning, back to 2014, we supported students learning a second language, particularly those ethnic minorities in Hong Kong, learning Chinese as a second language more than a decade. We observed and found that information technology seems so attractive to many of the students. Therefore, we start to think how well we can use technology to support this group of struggling learners. So we use a small internal fund to develop a prototype, and then we luckily got the QE fund and further scale up as a pilot study in 2015. Later on, we got the language fund from Scholar, and then further scale up our project in 2016 to 18. And we were very lucky that we got the TESOL at HKU recognizing our work, the research and development work, as intellectual property, and support us to further commercialize our work. Hope we can serve and benefit more teachers and students in need. In 2019, we have a big step forward, because we have our own working team, we have our office, and we start to serve ESL students, and particularly those from low-income families. We observe they have huge need to learn a second language for upward social mobility. And also we want to serve and nurture more talents for the Hong Kong community. And last year, our work also accepted by the HKSTP and joined their Include Tech program. So we now have our office in the Hong Kong Science Park. This year, we also serve ethnic minority students learning Chinese history in Chinese. So this is even more challenging. So this is our team. We have 9 people working as a team. Dr. Key and I work in a pro bono basis. And for the other teammates, we have our internal in-house tech team. So if you have any needs when using our platform and the pedagogy, and we also welcome all kinds of suggestions, we will try our very best to cater your needs and concerns. I think this is the most unique differences compared with other e-learning and teaching tool. We also have advisory board. You will see some familiar faces here. And why we call ourselves mLang? Lang refers to languages. I think this is quite obvious. But why M other than vitamin M? We want our students to have more opportunities to make more money in the future. And M means multimodality. We all know that students may not be very good in reading and writing, but many of them prefer to use the spoken language to express themselves. But many of them also feel shy about that. Therefore, we think maybe using the photo or the picture as the meaning representation would help them to further express their thoughts and voices. We also are helping them to learn multi-languages. You know, both English and Chinese are so important in Hong Kong. Even though they are native Chinese, it doesn't mean that they don't have any difficulties to learn the language. We're also using the mobile technology, hoping the student will have more motivated, and then at the end, they can be the master of their own learning. And this is the theoretical background of our work, and mainly based on the second language acquisition theory and computer-assisted language learning and motivation theories and learning theories. What makes us different from other e-learning tools? First of all, we aimed and worked very hard to help students remove their second language learning barrier. We believe this is a relatively more new language pedagogy, and based on our historical data, it has been proved that using mLang and the pedagogy to teach, the students' learning outcome is 60% more than the traditional textbook learning. And we also found that it's easy with the support of technology to cater to individual students' learning need and provide inclusive and seamless learning environment. And we also observe the active learning in the whole process. How we use our platform and the pedagogy, I think I won't talk too much because we have our honorable guests. They would share their experience. I just want to point out that we use a backward design approach. So teacher would first set what the end goal that you want your student to achieve, mainly writing a good passage. So we would help students using different kind of scaffolding strategy to learn all those major components like vocabulary and then sentence and then the passage and the structure. But in the whole process, we facilitate a lot of students' peer learning, and the teacher also assessing the student like a summative, formative learning assessment and to observe their needs and offer their help in the meantime. And by providing co-created learning contents, the scope of learning can be widened and can be deepened, and the whole learning process can be more proactive. Under the pandemic, we know teachers and also students and parents, we are all struggling, and we observe a lot of challenges that we have seldom encountered before. But I want to point out what mLang does in the past 1 year or so, and how our work help students and teachers in the whole learning process. So this is the learning outcome summary. In 2019 and 20, I think you still remember what we've been gone through. The schools suddenly suspended after the Lunar Chinese New Year. Our partners, they work very hard on their daily teaching and learning and still continuing their teaching as much as possible. And based on the pre and post test result, we observe students maintaining their learning and motivation, and they also show improvement even in this very difficult time. And in general, we observe the reading and listening have the most obvious improvement. And as an average, they also has a medium improvement to all kinds of English as a second language proficiency. And for the attitude, you will see that in enhancement is even more obvious. If it is more than 0.8, based on the statistic, we claim this is a huge impact or a big effect. So you will see most of the items, other than I become more able to expand my English knowledge by myself instead of only relying on teacher, is relatively low. But for the other items, you will see students have significant improvement. And for the teacher change, we know for many language teachers, using information technology is quite challenging and worrying thing. But we also saw the teachers and they are more confident and more willing to use information technology and also mLang. Our idea is helping a school to opening account for a school, and then they can have as many classes as they need. And each class would have each unit related to a topic. And based on this topic, the teachers can help students to scaffold their all kinds of language ability they will need to achieve the learning goal. Our platform can work in all kinds of digital devices as long as it can access to the Wi-Fi. And the requirement to the digital device is very, very low. No need to download anything. So I think this can help to ease a lot of worries. Jessica, may I pass the time to you? Because I think you would want to give teacher some experience of using the platform, right?
Right. Thank you, Dr. Low, for your explanation and sharing the concept of mLang. I'm going to supplement some information about the last slide. Just want to be clear, for Apple tablets and Apple phones, you need to use Safari. And for all the smartphone and tablets, please do not turn on the do not disturb and silence mode, because on our platform, you need to record and you need to listen to your recording. For the PCs, you just don't mute your PCs or Macs. And for PCs, you can use both Safari and Chrome. It doesn't matter, just some supplementary information. So now you can use your phone or use your any electronic device. It's either scan the QR code or go to the web address to log on to the account. So after you have logged on, you're supposed to see a page like this. Yes. So in here, I'm using one of the participants' students' account. I'll show you the student's account later on. And you have all the information in a PDF file, and we'll share with you after the workshop. It's on Google Drive. So here you can click the language. I understand that some students may not feel comfortable with seeing English all the time, so they can select traditional Chinese or simplified Chinese as well. So you click English, you'll see the language here. So this is one example of a teacher's account. So I separate all your participants according to your choices to junior primary, senior primary, junior secondary, and senior secondary. So for this account, from one of our guest speakers, Ms. Catherine Chan, I'm using her account right now. So you can, under the class, you can see I set this senior primary. But for your usage, you can always set it as P1A, S1A, or S4A. It's just for this workshop, I set it like this. So you click into the class. As I've mentioned, under the class, there are different units. Units are very flexible. You can do according to the 4 skills. First, second choice, you can go according to the publisher units, like Pearson, Oxford, and Aristotle. The third choice would be school-based curriculum. I myself am a registered teacher in Hong Kong, and I have taught primary school and English, primary school and secondary school before. So there are some school-based materials that the school use storybooks or use like booklets to teach. So you can do it like that too. So I'm going to click into the writing first because I have pre-created some parts. So the project, as Dr. Lo has shown this slide, project is /homework/assignment. This is the place that you're going to assign work to your students. So before I go into how you can into the project I have created /homework created, I'm going to show you. So this is the plus account. You can click the plus. You can add a photo, type in the subject title, the homework subject title, and you can voice record the instructions of the homework. And you can type in the English description. It's called description. It's more like instruction of the homework. I understand that some students are weak. So there are partnerships teachers that they either record in English or Cantonese or English and Cantonese. So when they go home, especially for primary students, their parents can help them out with their homework. So comments, you can allow students to add comments, to give comments to each other. I'll show you later on. So the end date is the deadline of the homework. So if the deadline is set on the 4th of, which is not supposed to be end, this is way past. So for example, this is like 28 March. It's 28. Hold on. I'm going to select. Anyways, 28. So this is the month, this is the date, this is the year. So the deadline would be after 27 March, 11:59 p.m. They can't submit any homework. So this is the concept of creating a project / homework. So this one is what I have pre-created. Writing one, what's your favorite animal? So I think all English teachers know the concept. You have to build from words to sentence and to paragraphs and to essays. So the first writing task I'm going to ask these class of students is they have to come up with animals that they want to write about. So under the project umbrella, you see the detail. Detail are the instructions you have just typed in, as I have shown you, that all the description, like they can add comment. First one, you have to upload a photo of the animal. Second one, you have to voice record the name of it. Third one, you have to type of its name in the text box. So these are clear instructions. One flashcard for one animal. Some partnership teachers didn't write a lot of instructions in here because they communicated in hybrid learning or face-to-face class. So it really depends on how much you understand your students and how much you know about the characteristic of your class to use this description. Something I find very useful, as well as all our partnership teachers, is that the recording function is very, very useful. Students can always go back to the instructions of the teacher if they have forgotten something in class. So they go home, they can finish it. So here, there's a chunk of students, and I'm going to find the students I've pre-created. My name is student one. So this sequence is go by alphabetical order. So I'm student one, I've created 5 cards. And in each of these cards for a student, you can click onto the photo. Oh, this is fierce. You can see the photo of the animal. You can click the text box. We enlarge the text box because sometimes you ask students to write in essays or paragraphs, and this small text box cannot accommodate it. So you have to click and enlarge it, and you can listen to the recording.
Box.
So you can actually download it. So if it's a presentation, you can download it and share it with others. So I created 5 cards. So now, grading, how to grade, which is very important for teachers. I started, that means star means featured. All the featured cards are shared with all the classmates in the same class. So everybody can see the good work of students, of other peers. Tick is just you think is good, but it's not good enough to be shown, or you just don't want to show it to all the class. Cross, when I tick cross, the student wouldn't show cross because we do not want to discourage students from creating further work. So it's just an exclamation mark to remind them they have to make amendments, they have to edit it. So this function is the written comments. For the written comments, teachers can always write, like type up some comments. I type up this stuff looks fierce. And then you can always voice record it. Impromptu recording, or if you are an overachiever, you would like prepare 2 months of work, you can always import it through file like this using the computer. So I'm going to save it like this so you can see. So in the student account, in Ms. Chen's student account, I'm going to refresh it. You can see that in the writing. Wow, you are like an overachiever. You are creating already. Awesome. So I can see that my cards are featured. This is a student account, just want to remind you. And in the student account, they can like each other's work. So I can click a like, I can leave comments. I'm not sure if I like this animal. We set pre-recorded, like preset comments, because sometimes, like students, when like they have to reach a certain mature level to be able to comment freely in class. Sometimes it could be quite surprising of what they say. So we prefer set comments at this moment, but any opinions and feedback are welcome if you think your students are ready. So I can send a comment as chance student to comment on each other's card. And then I can click this slideshow to see it. And this function also available in a teacher's account. So you can show it in class. You can click the photo. You can also remember to click the minus button, change it to plus, and you can click the text if it's a paragraph. You can listen to the recording.
Sloth.
And I voice recorded a comment for this student.
Hi, student one. This sloth looks really cute. Is this a cartoon photo or a real animal photo? Can you tell me, please?
Can you all listen to it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So you can, if you don't have time to write something, just record it and give feedback. So that's the idea of it. So this is how students review your work. So the second important thing about this platform, how students submit their work. So you know how to grade, you understand how students view it. So I'm going back to writing 1A. You go to submitted. Here submitted, but it's not really submitted. So you click the student click the plus icon and then submit the work. Here you can always preset photos in here, but I didn't put any default photos. I'll show you later. I'm going to use a photo in my account. I want a photo of Hong Kong U, which is unrelated. Let's see if I can import it. So I'm going to use an mLang photo. I'm going to say English, and I'm going to type an apple, which is totally wrong. And then you can submit it. So for students who are possibly multilingual, they can always add a language role. They feel more comfortable. They can add Chinese, they can add Russian. But before you submit it, if you are not typing in anything, you have to cross out this text box in order to submit it. So I'm going to show you if I have a text box, I didn't type in anything, I can't submit it. I'm going to cross it out. So I'm going to submit this homework. So that's how students would submit their homework. So if students like, oh my God, like before the submitting time, I want to change my work, you click into the calc again. You see the button here, the pen in a square, you click it, student click it, and they can always voice record it again. Say, I love apples. Somehow the photo can't show. Let me pick another photo. I'm going to choose the photo of my coworker. Yes, and then submit it. That's Hugo. So Hugo is handsome. I'm going to type Hugo's name. Hugo, submit. So if the student doesn't want it, like they can always click here to delete it. Arrow with a tick, change it to cross, choose it, push it in the bin, and then confirm. And then if they go to this tab, delete it. Oh, I regret that I have created that card, but now I regret that I have deleted that card. Now I want to retrieve it. They can always go, just bring it back to submit it. Just click the same button, choose this card, and then just confirm to recover. So it's easy peasy. So featured. So these are the feature card that is done by student one that I can see. So this is not a student one account. Just want to let you know, I'm going to show you. But I can still see student one's work through this. So this is a general idea of how the platform works. You guys are really fast. So this one is like a writing. and you need to create a project. So just want to remind you, I'm going back to the teacher account. Under unit, you always click the plus to create a project / homework for your students. So it's not a card you're creating. If you want to do sample for your students, I'm going to show you. I'm going to click into this preset project. I can, as a teacher, I can always create a card here to do it as a sample. Because I understand sometimes students are so weak and they, once you tell them how to say some words, they will forget it right away. So when they go home, they just don't want to go to the dictionary.com or Oxford Dictionary. So you can always voice record. We can always do some sample cards under featured. This is a teacher's account to voice record or type of something as a sample. So now I go back to how to maintain default pictures. So there are times you want the task to be more controlled and more guided. You want to control students into choosing the 10 to 15 photos that you have selected. In here, you can choose the photos, default picture, management, default picture, plus, and then that's my favorite part. Let me see what I have. I'm just choosing random stuff here. Apple logo. I'm going to add Apple logo here. Submit. And then students, you can add up to, I don't know how many, it's pretty much limitless. So you can control the task to how students would do. So now I'm going to refresh the student account and I'm going to submit it. And hi, here you go. And then now I should be able, it takes a little time to refresh it. Hold on, let me see. Writing here. Now I see, oh, somebody put a poke. So now when student, this is a student account to remind you. When students see this account, they can always choose from these default photos that you have set for them. So the last thing I want to introduce that I don't want to overrun too much is the game function. Yay. So I'm not going to into detail into how to create a game, but I'm going to show you how students would play the game. So I've created a game for this class. It's KS2 here. So there's a game function. Click here. You can always practice it. So it's like a memory matching game. They can play Oregon 10, this one, this one, this one. Nope, I got it wrong. Nope. Oops. Sorry. This is a giraffe. This must be a stingray. So they can actually, this is a practice, right? I don't want my ranking to be shown right now. So if I'm ready, if the student is ready, they can do test or even battle. So as long as the same class of students, they enter in the battle, they can click each other's name to battle each other. So there's a personal ranking and there's a battle ranking for this. This is one game and other game is for the match. So for the match, it's like this. I can practice. So students can hear the sound.
Sloth. Jellyfish.
So apparently we don't have enough cards to create all the audios because you need every card. In order to have audio show, you have to need every card to have audio file and all the written to have all the 4 options. But I'm pretty sure this is this answer. So I'm going to next.
Stingray.
Not stingray.
Sloth.
This is sloth for sure. Sloth. So I'm going to click random answer. So you get an idea. I'm not going to detail. So you do it, click, 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 confirm. Yay, I got 75% correct. So this is how they do it. If they can practice as much as they want before they go into the test. So you may ask, so what's the condition to set the games? So in every project / homework, students have to create in one single project, there have to be at least 4 flashcards to be able to create one game or multiple games, any games, 4 cards. So you have to encourage students to create as many cards as they can in order to get them into the pool to use their own content to play the games. So through playing the game, it's actually the idea from Dr. Lowe. It's gamification learning and accidental learning. Through playing game, they find it very fun. So they learn they can match the visual image and the sound and the written form of the word. So instead of asking them the dictation and you have to set all the paragraphs to ask them fill in the blanks, I think it's just a better way to encourage and motivate students to acquire games. So I think I do not have much time here. So so if you have more questions on how to create game, I can show you after the workshop, or I can make a video of it. I think I need to pass the time to Principal Chen at this moment it's our honor and pleasure to have Principal Chen to share with us today about how her school has used different tools to empower students to learn English. And welcome, Principal Chen. Thank you so much.
Hello， 係 ，hello， 係，聽唔聽到啊？
聽到 ，thank you。
聽 ，OK， 係好
，thanks a lot。
好高興咧，今日可以喺呢度同大家分享下我哋學校嘅一啲辦學特色啦。咁我哋其實呢幾年咧都好積極咧去推行呢個STEM 同埋編程教育嘅。咁我亦都覺得係都幾大成效，因為佢當中咧啲小朋友咧就好積極去主動學習，呢個課程比較有趣啦，咁咪提高咗學生嗰個自主性。咁而我亦都喺編程教育嗰度咧，就加入咗一啲 microbit 啊、無人機啊、機械臂啊、IQ 機械人嘅學習咧，就希望可以令到嗰個編程教育就更加體現佢個應用性嘅。咁由呢個課程嘅發展咧，亦都俾我哋一個體驗啦，就係話如果調動到學生嗰個自主性咧，佢個學習係個成效咧係會有增加嘅。咁應用翻喺我哋嘅英文課程啦。咁其實我哋舊年咧就用呢個 PEGS 嘅計劃咧，就設計咗個校本嘅喺1、2年班裏邊做一個説話嘅課程啦，同埋4年班做一個閱讀嘅課程嘅。咁但係咧就有半年差唔多停咗課啦。咁就影響咗因為説話咧，你唔能夠面授係真係幾困難嘅。佢哋點樣交功課啊？咁有一個困難度嘅。咁變咗我哋個計劃咧就要申請延遲1年嘅。咁喺今年裏邊咧就好好，因為我哋今年就試行用咗呢個 mLang 嘅平台，咁佢就幫我哋解決咗呢個問題啦。即係話我哋而家就算我哋經歷咗咁長時間嘅停課，但係咧喺呢個説話嘅課程裏邊咧，其實佢一樣可以用呢個平台咧俾學生去做呢個説話練習啦，同埋做一個評估啦。老師亦都可以俾翻一啲嘅回饋學生啦，咁所以咧就幫助咗我哋好大嘅。咁甚至乎咧佢嘅有效咧就吸引咗我哋中文科嘅同事啊，因為原先係英文科嘅同事去試用嘅。咁咧中文科嘅同事咧見到咦用得幾有成效喎，有時我哋1年班嘅同事好努力去用呢個平台。咁我哋中文科2個 panel 啦，亦都就最近呢2個月先去試用嘅啫。咁佢試用完之後咧，咁啱而家就可以恢復1/3嘅學生翻嚟授課啦。咁我哋就係輪流咧，就各級翻嚟就完成埋上學期嗰個考試嘅。咁試用嘅老師佢嘅班別咧，老師話俾我聽咧，佢係睇到同學仔咧，即係又係有明顯嘅進步，即使佢嗰個考慮嘅範圍其實全部都係非面授課嘅時候學嘅。同我哋上一次都有個考試咧，就係起碼都有1個月時間係面授課噶嘛。佢明顯睇到咧，佢係學得穩陣咗，同埋有嗰個進步。咁所以我又睇到咧，原來即係老師用呢個平台嗰個積極性咧，其實同學生去學習嗰個效能咧係有一個成正比嘅反應嘅。如果同樣老師如果用得冇咁積極咧，你會睇唔到嗰個成效。但係老師用得積極咧，我哋就睇到學生係得益嘅。咁所以我嚟緊個課題咧就要諗下，即係我自己覺得呢個 mLang 我哋會繼續用嘅。我哋覺得係我同埋睇到話點樣有效將佢推動去唔同嘅科目或者唔同嘅年級。 咁可能我哋呢度要做多少少功夫，就加強老師個積極性咧。我相信對學生係有一個好明顯嘅效用嘅。咁詳細我哋英文科點樣用咧，我就應交俾阿陳老師同我哋分享啦。
Thank you so much, Principal Chen, and also recognizing our work.
Thank you very much for Principal Chen for this collaboration opportunity of this year. And now we welcome Miss Catherine Chen from Yanchai Hospital, Chinese Using Primary School. Her teaching is very, very fun. Like I had seen the video and I've been collaborating with her for lesson planning, and she always comes up with like the most amazing and innovative idea to teach her kids. If I were her student, I would enjoy English lessons so much. So welcome, Ms. Chen.
Hi, I'm Catherine Chen from Chinese Using Primary School, and thanks for having me in this workshop. So I'm going to share my experience using mLang and as well as the students' feedback. Let me share the screen first. Okay, so here. Yeah. All right, so actually, our English panel, Miss Lai, and I have been teaching English for P1 English for around 2 years. And we found that the text in the book is not authentic enough and a little bit boring. And the previous curriculum cannot really integrate all the skills in English language. So our kids may be able to do great in grammar exercise. However, they may not have enough confidence in speaking. So we decided to enhance the curriculum by adding some play elements into it. And we create a new English room, and kids can do a variety of activities to develop their English communication skills, as well as their reading and writing skills. The new curriculum also aims to help students to gain self-confidence by being engaged in new experiences in a pleasurable environment, and hence it can greatly improve the effectiveness of English learning. So let's watch an introduction video first. Okay.
Good morning. Good morning. So, how are you today? I'm good. Where are you now? I'm in English room. Come on, let's learn and play with us. Are you ready? Ready! My name is Revenue. Good morning. Good morning. How are you today? I am fine, thank you. What is your name? My name is Jane. How old are you? I am 6 years old. Do you want to make friends with me? Yes! Now I know my baby. Let's find for you anywhere. We are the winners! Yeah! You are fantastic! I am so happy! English is fun!
The kids are really engaged in lessons, right? They actually gain confidence in speaking English by playing games and doing crafts. But you know, there's only around 2 lessons per week. So it's not enough for kids to enhance their English ability. And we integrate listening, speaking, reading, and writing in all the lessons in a fun way then. And there are 4 major steps for me to teach a unit. It includes vocab, grammar and structure, sentence making and writing. And I will elaborate it in the next slide. So to enrich students' vocab, I used to play matching games with them in class, and sometimes writing words and draw pictures in a small whiteboard. But as you know, you cannot ensure all the students speak English during the activities. So, and some forgetful students may probably forget all the things they've learned in the lesson. And mLang is helpful with that. So let's see. mLang provides a platform for my students to create their own course. And during the process, they can create their own cards, and then they take the photos at the surrounding objects and describe them using English. As the result, enriching the vocab. For this unit, for the units like clothing items, students used to mix up the words shirt, t-shirt, and also the difference between shirt and blouse. And so I create the cards by myself, and at the same time, I just need them to read aloud the target vocabs so as to consolidate their knowledge. The other reason why I create the cards by myself is because the featured cards can be generated into a memory matching game, just like what Jessica said. It's just like Quizlet actually, but the most attractive point to the children is that it will show their time used to complete the matching. And it actually becomes a competition as their ranks are dependent on their best time and score. So here. And then after learning the vocabs, we teach grammar and structures, mostly using songs and rhymes, also plus the explanations. But then the kids will have opportunity to apply what they have learned by making sentences in our English room. They play games and chat with their friends and complete the tasks by using our target structures to communicate. So after having a fun time in the English room, it's the homework time. So they have to do an extension task in mLang. And this is one example. I asked my students to take photos of themselves, showing their best outfits and describe it. As you can see, the kids really enjoy working in mLang because they can show off themselves and appreciate their classmates' outfits. So let me share the video with you.
I am Henry. I have a cat. It is red and yellow. I have a shirt. It is red. It is cool. Very cool. I am smart.
So actually, this student is not really good at English, but he tries his best to make as much sentence as he can, and absolutely with his parents' help. But what I can tell is using mLang, he really enjoys speaking in English. And also after teaching P1 for 2.5 years, I do believe that kids don't like just listening to their teachers, but they look forward sharing with their friends. So I featured some of the best cards and generated into a listening game again. So here's the example. They need to listen to the soundtracks and choose the best to match with the pictures. So, okay.
I am Eric. My jacket is green. My trousers are green.
And this guy has no jackets. So it's the wrong answer.
I am Owen. I have a t-shirt. Is this red? I have trousers. It is short, gray. I am small and comfortable.
As you can hear, there are so many grammatical mistakes in this soundtrack, but it's okay because first of all, this boy is really weak in English. And also I don't have time to check all the students' pronunciation one by one. So this platform really lets me to check all of them, and then I can recap all the common mistakes that show in the mLang, and then I can tell them in the class. Then also, this little boy, he has no confidence in speaking English, but because of mLang, he wants to show off himself. So he keep reading and practicing. So I really appreciate it. Coming next is the most difficult task for them. They have to read aloud their writing, so as to make sure they know what they are writing. So here's the example.
This is Ashley. Her glasses are white. She is a girl. Her t-shirt is red and skirt is pink. Her shoes is colorful and one pair of long socks. It is very beautiful. She is smart and nice.
So why I force them to do this task? Because in the lesson, I will let them to do the presentation on their writing. Since they should have enough practice at home, they can do well in class so as to build up their confidence in speaking English in public. And so this is actually the flow, how I teach English integrated with mLang. And in addition, recently, it's our school's exam period. Because they are actually having the Zoom lesson at that time. So to remind them the meaning of all the words and the pronunciations of them, I asked my students to read aloud all the words listed in the revision note before they come back. And I don't really have much time to go through all the words in class after they come back. So I generate a matching quiz for them. I ask them to score altogether 60 points in the game before they come back, actually. And my students are really competitive and they like the game a lot. So as you can see, some of them scored over 1,000 points, which means they played the game roughly around 100 times. And I don't believe my kids will study a revision note by themselves without any motivation. And also, my students' handwriting, for me, it is not satisfactory enough. And since I found that my students really enjoy using mLang, I created a good work appreciation corner to share all the nice work from my students a few weeks ago to encourage them to improve. I also comment on these writings. If the kids want their work to be displayed in this corner, they have to keep their words neat and tidy. So let's see how it goes. So I hope my sharing can bring you some insights on how to implement mLang in the classroom. So thank you. Let me stop sharing.
Thank you, Ms. Chen, for your sharing. I think like Ms. Chen is very good at using not only mLang, one of the IT tools, but she uses many tools in her classroom to engage her students to be able to speak and to feel confident to learn English since primary one. And I really appreciate that. So for the next round of sharing, we have Miss Cherry Hon, the Vice English panel, and Miss S.K. Liu from Mangwan Pakel College. And Ms. Hon is our second, it has been collaborating with us for the second year, and she's very creative and very caring for her students. And it's been a pleasure to work with her and her colleagues as well. So welcome, Ms. Hon.
All right, so good morning, everyone. And can you see my PowerPoint right now? All right, thank you. And so thank you for inviting us to share our teaching experience using mLang in our classroom. And before sharing the experience in the classroom using mLang, I would like to introduce some of the backgrounds of our school using e-learning and STEM. And in recent years, our schools has integrated the e-learning into our curriculum. And in order to enhance students' motivation and also create an English-rich environment for our students. And we have the policy of BYOD, and every student will have an iPad, and also they are using the ebooks in their Chinese, English, and mathematics. And actually, I would say that the students are more familiar with the iPad and using different apps compared to the teachers, adults. And we're using the flipped classroom as well. The students, they really good at STEM and they know the use of VR and AR skills. And we also have the facilities that will try to create a good environment for our students to let them to learn. And then we think that English is fun. We have the Clap Lab, AI Lab, etc., to facilitate our teaching and also the students' learning. And we would in recent years, we'll try to find out different ways for our students to using different apps. Just want them to think that English is fun. We don't want to let the students would say, oh, English is so boring because I don't know the words, and or when I read the English word, I would fall asleep. We don't want our students to be like that. So in recent years, we try to think different ways, like using different apps with quizzes, Kahoot because I'm sure that all of you will know and have already practiced using these apps with your students. But you know that students, they have lots of ideas. They will get bored if they keep using the same apps. So we will try to like think of different ways, no matter apps or platforms, just like to stimulate our students or stimulate their creativity. And then we found that mLang is a good platform for our students. Is that they found it interesting, and then they like to share their own ideas using this platform. And but there's a question is that, or I know that some of their schools were still using their traditional textbooks, and some of you was like using the ebooks just like our school. But there's a question is that, well, how can mLang integrate with our teaching or with our curriculum? This is a good question. Is that at the first we will a bit worried is that will our students be suitable for using this platform? Would it be fun? Would they find it interesting? We're quite worried about this because we really want our students to like finding it fun and then also get adapted to our new platform. And we're using the e-learning, and we have ebooks, we have different apps. And for these 2 years, we've tried to let our Form 1 students and also Form 2 students to be the pioneer to use the mLang platform. And so, first of all, well, I would say that it's from starting from the perspective of teachers, it is quite easy to use. And well, it will be easier to integrate with our curriculum, as you can create your own units and your own topics, no matter if it's your curriculum using your textbooks, or it is out of syllabus, or using your tailor-made materials. You can create your own topics and create your own project. And so I think that it is quite easy to use. And later on, because every year our school will have 2 projects with the students. It's not just based on the textbooks. We want students to using different activities to learn English, and we try to adapt the mLang. We try to let the students to use, and then in their projects. And then of course we can use it as a continuous assessment. There's some important things that our teachers would think of, is that, well, can we how to like calculate their marks, and then how we evaluate the students' performance. And then we found that the mLang is really can help, and then we can use this as a continuous assessment. And besides, we have the integrated approach, and just what Ms. Chen has Ms. Chen, I would say that your students are very cute, very amazing, and then they're really good at using their new platform. And what we try to like adopt their integrated approach also in our secondary school, in our classrooms, using the different 4 skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Is what we want the students to acquire the 4 basic skills. And starting from last year, I have using the mLang with my Form 1 students, and they are the elite class, and we want to like help them to equip the 4 skills, and it will be easier for them to like get prepared for going up to the senior forms. And so where mLang would help us to like focus on reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And I'm sure that some of you will think that, well, sometimes if I ask the students to say which part is the most difficult part in learning English, and they would say writing, because they don't know the words. And they will find that if you ask them to write, for example, letter to the editor, they will say, oh no, Ms. Horn, I really don't know how to write. And I think the point is that they don't know the vocabulary. And to like enrich their vocabulary, we'll try to let the students to do some lesson preparation before the teacher teaches, to promote the self-learning. you know, during the pandemic, the students where they would stay at home and do their homework, they were just like, for example, the lesson started at 8, and then until 8 they wake up and then they open the switch on the camera and wait for the teachers to teach. But we don't want to be like that. We want the students to prepare for themselves, and then they can do some learning, not just the teachers teach, but they can do the learning by themselves. So we will ask the students to make some word cards, so to enrich their vocabulary. For example, for like this today, I would like to teach the topics related to travel, and then I will ask the students to like find some words that they don't know, and then create some cards. And later on, I will read the cards and I would say, oh, but this word is very good, and I want to encourage them. And then I will make it as a start flashcards. I will make it as a stars. So the other students, they can learn the words from their peers. And it's kind of a way to promote the peer learning. So, well, of course, the students will have their vocabulary at first, and later on, we want to like doing the writing step by step, from the word and to sentence and to paragraph. Okay, so they can like starting from the very little small task, and they will say, well, Miss Horn will give me a start on my card, and then they will feel very satisfied and very contented, and they will say, oh, then I will do better in my sentence. And then after that, we will say teach the sentence pattern to them, and then they can start using the sentence pattern to create the sentence using the words they found or the words that their classmates shared. And later on, after they really get familiar with the sentence, and then we will move on a little bit forward to the paragraphs, and then to create a new card. So it was like that for the writing, there are different cards with different paragraphs, different sentences to let the students starting from the very little basic step and until they can write a full article, write a letter to the editor. Besides writing, well, some of the students, they are very shy. If you're conducting the face-to-face lessons, and then if you ask the students to come up, and then they will say, oh no, Miss Han, don't choose me, I don't want to come out. But for this kind of like shy students, they perform very well on the platform because they can stay at home. No one will look at them, and they can keep practicing. If they spot out any mistakes, they will keep trying and trying. They will check the dictionaries by themselves, and then they can record their audio and then hand it in on the mLang platform, and I will read it. And so we found that some of the shy students, they don't want to come out in front of the class, but they will try to perform better on the mLang platform. And that's the way that we can encourage the students to do better, to speak more, and then we can let them to think that English is fun. We're not just like they are very afraid of speaking in front of their classmates. And at the same time, so from the perspective of teachers, we found that mLang, the teachers can provide immediate feedback to our students. For some of the students, they are good at listening, and then we will give them their verbal feedback. Or some of the students, they would like to read the words, and then we will like just type their feedback in a written form to let them to understand it more easier. And so for starting from the perspective of teachers, we found that there's immediate feedback function on the mLang would help the students to understand what mistakes they have made. And next time they can read the comments again, and then they'll remember. So next time I will avoid trying to make that grammatical mistakes again and again. And I'm sure that all of you will face a problem is that during the pandemic, the students will stay at home, and or sometimes in the afternoon, they will have nothing to do. They will just, because are like for example, in the face-to-face lesson, the students can like learning the English, or in the classroom, they can do the activities in a pair work or in a group work. But of course, like in the Zoom, we have breakout rooms, or we can still have some work like grouping activities, but it is a bit difficult to do that. So the students was since found that learning English is not that fun anymore, or they was a little bit bored. But it's kind of like mLang platform will help them to increase their motivation again. I've tried to like giving some topics for them to think about, like their dreams and future, because well, some of the students they would think that staying at home is very boring, and then they will ask me, oh, when can I come back to school to learn, or for example, like next year can I go back to school again? And I would say the students will say sometimes that they don't know about their future, or they're worried, and or then I would give a topic that, can you tell me about your dreams or your future? Well, once that you can come back to the school to enjoy the lessons with me, what do you want to do? Or after some years, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And then the students will be very enthusiastic to like share their ideas, and then uploading their pictures, their photos on the platform. Or besides, I would like giving them some topics like sharing their favorite cartoon character, or just very similar topic, very common topics like tell me your hobby. And then, of course, you would think that there's very easy topics, right? Of course, the junior form students can handle it, but we just like we would try to let the students to no pressure, without pressure, and then to share their ideas very free on the platform. And so this is the passage from my students, and she shares about her future. She wants to study in Japan. She wants to study in Japan, and she shares about the food, the weather, and what she's going to do in Japan. Well, there's a very long passage. Although you can see some grammatical mistakes, but what she really wants to try to share her ideas with me on the platform, because we cannot conduct it in the face-to-face session. She cannot talk to me directly, but she would share, she would try to write something. I remember starting last year, the first semester, my Form 1 students are quite shy, no matter in the writing or also on the speaking. They would just write a few words, or they would just say something, or just share a bit. But well, after that, we found that the platform, the students would like to share more with me. And this one is another journal from my students, and then he's talking about his hobby. He said because during the pandemics that he cannot play the basketball. He can only go to the basketball court for like 3 times a week, but before he can play more with his friends in the basketball court. So for the teachers will understand more about what their students are thinking. It's kind of like increasing their interest and their motivation in writing and speaking in English. So besides English, and then we will try to like, can it adapt into other subjects? For example, like PE, music, STEM, there's a lot of the English vocabulary. It's not only like very academic basis in English, but we still have some vocabulary like in PE or music, and then the students will be find it more interested in like sharing or learning about it, the specifics or knowledge in the PE or the music, the subjects that they like. And so at last, we will found that mLang is really help, no matter standing from the perspective for the students and also the teachers, kind of promoting their self-learning and also peer learning. And we'll try to like based on the because now we know that there's some SEND students with this special education needs, and we try to like cater for the learner diversity in the classrooms, and integrate mLang with the lessons and kind of like continuous assessment. And the important thing is that we would like to encourage the students to do more free writing and also the speaking. And later on, I will pass the time to Ms. Liu. She is the new joiner of using the mLang this year. And then she will share about the experience with her Form 2 students, and based on like cater for the learner diversities. All right, so I will pass the time to Ms. Liu. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Horn, for your sharing. I have witnessed her last year as one student, now this year as two students has improved dramatically, especially in writing. Like I graded the pre-test, post-test, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So Ms. Horn is very willing to go extra mile for her students, and that makes some difference as well. And thank you so much for your sharing. And we welcome Ms. Liu. Thank you, Ms. Liu.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Horn. Hello, I'm Ms. Liu. And as a new teacher, I will share how I use of mLang to facilitate my teaching. And I always think of two questions. How can we cater for learner diversity and enhance students' learning motivation? As I deeply believe that these two questions really affect our students' learning. As teachers, we hope our students to enjoy learning, right? But however, in reality, due to various reasons, not every student enjoy learning. So I tried different teaching tools to help my teaching become interesting, interactive, and enjoyable. And I find mLang is a good tool for teachers. So I will now share how mLang make learning interactive and motivational. mLang is a user-friendly platform to train students integrated skills, where students can write and speak to create their own cards. Teacher can start the cards made by the students and share the outstanding cards to other students. This function can improve students' writing, speaking, and listening skills through listening to their classmates' recordings. And moreover, my students, they feel proud of themselves when they see their cards are started and projected in front of their classmates. So they try very hard to make their cards, create marvelous sentence in order to get the honor in front of their classmates. They are motivated to do this work. As English teachers, we always face one common problem that our students hate writing, right? And I really understand as I did not like writing when I was a student. It was a really tiring work. However, if we ask our students to write what they want to write and share their own ideas, they will find writing fun and they're willing to write. We can make good use of mLang as a platform to provide simple sentence making practice to students. They can share their interesting ideas in writing short sentences. This way is to help students find their interest in writing and learning English. We can take a look on this example. Yes, and you may think that their grammar is not perfect actually, but this practice aims to ask the students to share their ideas in English and make writing less horrible to students, which is a big and important step to encourage students to enjoy writing and learning English. And one of my students, he shared his personal picture in his sentence making card. His card drew his classmates' attention during the lesson, and he was invited to come out in front of the classroom and present his card. Actually, this student is not really good at writing words physically. Really writes on a piece of paper, but mLang allows him to show his talent in typing out the words and present publicly. And you can find that actually the photo is taken a few years ago, as the student is now a 13 years old boy, no longer a little boy in this picture, and he found this picture from his Facebook account and share it on mLang. The whole learning process can enhance the students' memory of their targeted vocabulary as it contains a various activities and students enjoy the activities very much. And the point that I want to highlight on this card is that the students need to make a sentence using their visual word free Wi-Fi. And he utilized this photo and made a sentence which tactfully matches his photo. It shows that his great creativity in this sentence. And I always believe that homework should be more than just an assessment with grades and scores. Grammar accuracy is very important, but more importantly, we want to encourage our students to think and write in English. So while mLang's creating card function can enhance and stimulating students to think without limitation. Learning is motivational when the students are engaged and are proud of their achievements in the learning process. Okay. We can apply this equation to mLang as learning with mLang is fun and interactive. We believe that every child can learn, just not in the same way, just like our school mottos all are applicable. Let's find more different ways to teach our students. I believe that there are many and we can make a difference. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for Ms. Liu sharing. I like how Ms. Liu has made the project/homework is very relatable to students' life, and she encourages her students to make their own contents and empower her students to make learning English as relatable to their own daily lives. That's a really good idea. So before we still have 1 minute before going to the break, I'm going to take this time to talk more. I was pretty aggressive about what I want to share. That's why I couldn't finish it. So this PowerPoint slides will go up to Google Drive and will be shared at the end of the workshop. So you have your student account to try it out. You simply need to add an S and the register phone number. Again, it's case sensitive. So during the break, you may want to try it out. If it doesn't work, please let me know. So I'm going to show you 2 more slides before we go into the break. This is from a P6 student's presentation. So they have to do this class had to do the presentation for Chinese New Year, compare and contrast the Chinese New Year and other festival in another country. So I'll just play it.
Hello teacher, today I'd like to talk about Chinese New Year in Hong Kong and New Year in London. Some things are the same and some things are different. People in Hong Kong wear winter clothes, while London wear winter clothes too. But in Hong Kong,
so I'm not going to play it all, but you can see students can prepare for the homework and voice record it as part of the homework. They don't need to necessarily write it. Some students like they write a lot like every day, so it's easier for teachers to grade it, and it makes the language more communicable as well, like enabling them to use the language to communicate, to present themselves. And the next one is the previous students read aloud. So read aloud is a very common English ESL task. So it's read aloud the text from the source of this. So I'm going to play it.
On Saturday, we went to the summer fair at school. I went with my dad and sister. When we got there, it was very busy. We were very excited. First, we went on the bouncy castle.
So I'm not going to play it all. See, you can tell that he's trying to self-correct by doing the recording, which is good for him. And for the instruction of the, so the teacher specifies that students have to pay attention to pronunciation, fluency, and intonation. So they have to be graded by this. And I'm going to show you the last PowerPoint before the break, sorry. So what's like from my teaching, and I think everybody else's teaching language, the grade level of the students and the English level of the student, they're different. For example, I have taught an S3 student before secondary 3, but her English level is way beyond S3. And I've taught a secondary 1 student before, and her secondary 1 English like is far below secondary 1. So in class, we always struggle to try to like bridge the gap of the student to meet the level of the curriculum, which is good. This is an ideal that we want to reach. So how do we reach that? So by empowering students to give them confidence and give them motivation to be able to create their own content, I believe that we are able to push or to motivate students to reach the level they're supposed to be at, instead of just drilling and spoon feeding their grammars. I mean, that's part of the practice, but like innovation and creativity and empowerment are also very important. Like from my own experience, I don't know if it applies to you all. Like you can see students change once they are empowered. So in the meantime, so I'm going to show the slide of the student account, and we'll have now it's 11:03 on my phone, and we'll come back in 11:10. So we have a 7-minute break. Thank you for your participation. And after the break, there's keynote speaker, Ms. Nicole Tavares, her award-winning project. So just give you the break and try out the student account right now. Thank you so much. We'll be back.
Please don't log out, and see you again soon.
Yes, thank you. Now the break is over. It's 11:10 already. I hope you all went to the restroom, get some water and get some snacks, and be ready for the keynote speaker, Ms. Nicole Tavares. Welcome, Ms. Nicole Tavares.
Nicole, may I introduce Nicole to all of you? She's my fabulous colleague.
Yes.
And a wonderful teacher. She's also the senior lecturer of our Faculty of Education, the University of Hong Kong. Other than that, she's also the fellow of the Higher Education Academy in the UK. She got a lot of teaching teaching award, and because of her very outstanding teaching performance, she's also very popular among our students and contribute a lot to the education field. So we are so grateful to have her as our keynote speaker this morning, and also having her as our advisory board member. Thank you, Nicole. I'll pass the time to you.
Thank you very much, Kai, Dr. Low, for your very kind introduction. Special thanks to the mLang team for your invitation, and Kai in particular for inviting me to this sharing session today. And I'd also like to particularly thank my ex-students and some current students here. I think for over the past months, I've been getting quite a number of emails and text messages letting me know that you'll all be here. So thanks a lot for your support. I'd like to start by saying that I hope you can all see this not so much as a keynote, but more like a workshop, because what I really believe in and what I do hope to do in this particular session, in this 1 hour, would be to take you through an experience of how I would normally teach. So hopefully there could be some ideas that you can pick up and personalize and bring into your own classrooms with your own creativity. I also believe in learning by doing, so I hope you will enjoy this experience. It's what I will be sharing with you in a short while is not so much a project, I would say, but it's more about my beliefs, my mission, my goal, especially over the past academic year, which I'm sure we all remember starting from November 2019 with a sudden and abrupt shift to online teaching and learning. For me, it has been a very unique experience, I have to say. It's far from normal, as the title of this session suggests. It's challenging, it's difficult, but it was also an extremely rewarding year. For me, I would describe it as a year of learning, a year that has really challenged me to think out of the box, to be more creative, as the teachers have repeatedly mentioned just now, and also to excel. So the innovations that I'll be sharing with you in a while are very much initiatives that I would like to share just to stimulate you to think of what you could do in your own classrooms with your primary and secondary students. It all actually began in, let me just share my slides with you. So it actually all began with one prime goal, one prime mission that I have in mind, and that is that I didn't want, despite the pandemic, despite the sudden shift to online teaching and learning, I just didn't want to sacrifice learning. And I think this is particularly crucial for us as teacher educators, because we are here to support our students. And when we hear our students who are teachers, especially in-service teachers, yelling for help, asking for ideas, I felt even more challenged to really find ways to try and give them as much support as possible in order to make a positive difference. So in a while, what I hope you could see as me, maybe more like a tour guide. I'd like to take you through 3 different stages of my experience and also engage you in some thinking together with me. I'd like to start with some joint reflections where I would invite you also to be sharing your thoughts with me. And with that, we're going to move into watching a video. I would like to share this video clip with you because it's very much a glimpse of very many lessons of mine at the postgraduate and undergraduate level. And also it's a video made by a student for me. So it's a very, very special video clip that I'd like to share with you. And with that video clip, we could all hopefully get to see what it might be like in my online classrooms. And you're free to ask any questions that you would like to ask about it. I'll show you where you can ask your questions afterwards so that we don't need to be switching between platforms. And I'd like to end my sharing for today at the end of this session with some takeaway messages on what I feel I have personally learned from this experience as I engage with you in some dialogues, also with you sharing some of your experiences. So just as a little bit of a background, as I begin my sharing, as I mentioned just now, my students basically are pre and in-service teachers. So in the video clips that you will be watching in a short while, they are all about ELT pedagogy. So if you like, you can also see this as an opportunity to refresh your knowledge, to jog your memories of what you are already very familiar with, I'm sure. And I would also like to particularly emphasize that everything that you see in the video, especially the incidents that you think are successful, maybe good practices, they all need to be attributed to my students, pre and in-service teachers, because I think collaboratively we made this work. They are all very, very eager to try out new ideas. They share their ideas with me. I share mine with them. And it's very much a synergy. It's very much the power of synergy. So with this, I think we could get ourselves started with the very first part. I'd like to begin by asking you, I'm going to show you in a short while a picture which a student of mine, a current student of mine, a teacher of English, has very recently sent me through WhatsApp. And when I looked at that, I thought, that would be an excellent picture that we could use for our workshop for today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this picture, and then I'm going to stop sharing. And after I stop sharing, I'm going to ask you to let me know whether you think this picture resonates with you as far as the message that is conveyed there is concerned. If it does resonate with you, if I could ask you to show me your thumbs up. If it doesn't, the thumbs down. If it's like so, maybe in the middle. So I'll show you my picture now, and then I'll give you maybe just a couple of seconds to think. And of course, if you could have your cameras on, that would be lovely. Otherwise, you can still use the reactions button. All right, so here comes the picture. Okay, so I'll stop my sharing now. Could I ask you to show me your thumbs up or thumbs down or sideways? Okay, some halfway, a lot of thumbs up I see going on. Okay, all right, even, yeah, in the chat, which is great. All right, thanks for sharing your initial reactions to this photo with me. I'm now going to ask you a question before we move on, and I'll show you my slide again as to what I would like to get you to compare. Let me ask you now to think about one thing, and that is, if I didn't ask you to show me your thumbs up and thumbs down just now, but I asked you to go to, if I asked you to go to Menti, for example, and to key in, is it very much or quiet or not really or not at all, using your mobile devices or using the computer, like a split screen, what would be the effect? Let me ask you not to, well, to think about an answer to this. Could I ask you to type your answer into the chat box, but do not click send? Just type it in, but do not click send. So I'll wait for about 30 seconds for everyone to let me know what you think. Don't click send. I know it's difficult to resist, but try not to. Type it into the chat box. Don't click send. Don't worry about the Menti link yet. It's just an example. We'll go to that later on. And let me reiterate my question. What would be the difference if I didn't ask you to put your thumbs up and thumbs down, but I told you just to go to Menti and click in an answer? What would be the difference? So at this point, I think many of you should be ready. Could I invite you now to click the send button so that your message pops up? Hmm. So have a look what everyone else is saying. Well, I think I totally agree with every one of you. You're right. Menti is anonymous. So it's very much what immediately happens is it's almost like I put a shield between you and me. It's like you are doing your job and I'm talking to you. It's one way or it's even top down. I give you the instructions and you perform the task. So it sort of distances the teacher from the students. And what I see to be really, really important in the lesson that I teach with my students is that there is this form of connection. That would be one of the things. And as some of you were saying in your chat, there is engagement, definitely, for sure, because I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, and you're not just looking at me, you're looking at your classmates as well, especially in the scenario where when I'm in a classroom, I would encourage my students as much as possible to switch on their cameras. Of course, it's difficult to get everyone to do that, and we would respect their decision for doing that, but I would try to get them to do so. And you will see in the video that I'm going to show you in a short while, if they don't show me themselves for whatever reason, which I totally respect, I would encourage them to find a way to do that. And some of my very creative students, the computer literate especially, would come up with their own avatars. And I remember every time I have a student in my BAB at year 4 class who puts up a different avatar every time, but his avatar would actually move and the lips of the avatar would move when he speaks. So it makes everyone laugh and they're really, really happy. So I think even though I'm not seeing them, that creates that engagement. And I see, well, also very good feedback from some, very good comments from some of you where there is feedback immediately. Yes, I think you get that feedback from your peers as well as to what everyone else thinks. And you get that immediate sense of unity, sense of community, which I also see to be very, very crucial in any online lesson that I'm actually teaching my students. Well, I think, well, I know Sunny, who's just made a comment there about wait time. And that's actually another strategy that I would like to suggest we consider using. It's a strategy that I learned actually from one of my PGDE students, my current year 2 PGDE student. It makes a huge difference just to give your students a little bit of wait time for whatever reason. When they're at home, maybe they will need to like manage things before they can type it in. Maybe for reasons of learning pace, they will need a bit more time. But from my experience, it actually makes a huge difference. If I say, okay, tell me what you think is the difference between the two. Type it into the chat and send it to me once you're ready. After you get 2 or 3 responses, that would just stop there. It would be really, really slow, much slower than just waiting for half a minute, because I think as Ms. Hahn reminded us just now, there are lots of shy students, timid ones, ones who might feel a little bit more reserved for personality reasons, for reasons of confidence, for instance. And if they see a response and that totally differs from what they think, they won't be sending it. Or they might think, oh, so-and-so has already got it and has written it much more beautifully than I do, if they lack the confidence and feel so. And they might choose not to respond. So I would really very much appreciate what this teacher that I had the chance to observe did, and I've sort of borrowed this idea from her about a bit of wait time before sending. So you talked about participation, you talked about reacting spontaneously, and I think that body language is also really important. When I started online teaching, the first thing that I said to myself is, I want to try to simulate a real life classroom. In a real life classroom, there is body language. If you're at home working on your own, students would tend to think, oh, okay, maybe the teacher won't see me, or I'm just one of the very many boxes in the classroom. It's okay just to maybe to slack a little bit, or to relax, or not to participate. And you might even question if the teacher would see you. So it's actually another way of letting the students know that you appreciate them, you value them, you would want to have them be a part of your classroom. So that's also one of the things that I often try to do. Let me see if there are any other interesting ideas that have been mentioned before we go on. Yep. So I think basically you've said it all. Okay. So with that, I think we are ready to move on. What I'm now going to be asking you to do is, well, I said we wouldn't be using a Mentimeter in a classroom scenario, but now I'm working with 200 plus participants. So in order to allow me to maximize time to be able to share as much as possible, I'm going to now move you to Mentimeter. So there are 3 ways that you can log in, whichever you find more convenient. Either you can use the code that you have just received just now in the chat. You can use this link to log in, or you can do the long way if you want. You can also click into menti.com and type in 160218. That was in what was very kindly sent to you through chat just now. So I'll wait for you to all log in while I switch to my Menti page. You can also use the QR code if this is going to be easier for you. And well, during the sharing, if any questions pop up, you will see that at the bottom of the screen, let me pull out my annotation bar for us all. At the bottom of the screen, you will see that there is a question mark. You can ask a question anytime. I'll see if I can pause to address your questions. If not, at the end of this session, I'll definitely come back to this question page and address your questions. So do feel free to ask questions, even if questions were already popping up in a previous task that you were engaged in. So I'll just wait a little bit more in case we need more time. Okay, so assuming that you would have a way of logging in using the chat box with the information, I would probably go on so that for those of you who are ready, we can move on to the next thing that I'd like you to be doing. We're talking here, we are sharing our online teaching experiences. So before I share mine with you, and I hope that mine is one that really addresses your needs, I can answer the questions that you would like to be asking. I'd like to begin by asking you, if I show you our next slide, I would like you to tell me in just one word how you would describe your online teaching experiences so far. Can be any word, but it should be an adjective so that we would all be able to compare them. And you can see words popping up on the screen. You can also ask yourself whether you feel the same. And I'm sure you're all familiar with the word cloud by now. The larger the word is, the more it has been entered by participants here. We have over 200 participants, so that's quite representative of your experiences. See if all these words resonate with you as experiences, as feelings, as sentiments. Okay, so I think they have, well, let them continue to come up, but I think the similar words sort of continue to remain where they are. The largest word, it's still challenging. I can't agree more with you. Online teaching is challenging, but I think I would also say very rewarding. I learn every time I teach online, every time I conduct a session online, every time I experience anything online or even observe lessons that my students teach online. Yes, it's exhausting. It makes you exhausted. I think these teachers are all saying the same thing. It may be chaotic at times. It's tiring, especially in front of the screen for a long while. I see words on the side like annoying, confusing, confused, hectic. But at the same time, it's also lovely to see some very positive words. And what I hope I can get you to see a bit more about as you watch the video clips, I'm going to share with you my experience from my very first lesson. You will see something from my very first lesson of online teaching in November 2019 and how it actually proceeds. I'm going to share with you my experience as to how challenging it is, what questions I've been asking myself, the challenges I encountered. I'm using the words that you have here, how frustrating and how puzzled I must have been at the beginning, leading on eventually to an experience which I think I would describe here. I can see some lovely words here. I would describe my experience now, having overcome, surmounted a huge number of challenges. Quite an awesome experience. It's exciting. It's nice. It's inspiring, and definitely it's challenged me to be a lot more adventurous and creative. So I think concur with every one of you here with the words that you have mentioned. So on this note, maybe what I will do is I'm going to start sharing my online experience, online teaching experience with you on video. The video clip itself is 10 plus minutes. I'm going to ask you to sit back and relax, and I hope enjoy this video clip. As I've mentioned, for me, it's a great sense of pride because it was made for me by an ex-student of mine in my MEd program who volunteered to do it for me. I'd like you to watch it. And as you watch it, you may want to ask yourself a couple of questions. Perhaps the most important question was, what would you see to be some of the key things that I have in my teaching beliefs, in my teaching philosophy, in aspects that I would attach great importance to? What am I valuing there? And in the process of watching it, don't forget that there is the question mark bar. You can always raise your questions, and I'll definitely leave time for us to discuss, and I'll try to address your questions there. So to ensure that the video shows, I'm going to stop sharing and start sharing again so that you can all watch the clip at ease. So let me know if you can't hear the sound, but I did share it, so it should be working. So enjoy this clip of around 10 plus minutes and think about the questions that I've been asking you just now. So let's begin. Okay, so we're having quite a big group. I think we will get ourselves started. So let's hear from Carrie. Cecilia? Gayatri? Okay, Katie first. Lesson objectives should be sharp. SHARP. Lesson objectives should be sharp. Okay, so while the others are still thinking, most of you have put up your put thumbs up, but Ashley, you have this. Why this?
Yes, lesson objectives should be sharp, but they also have to be specific. So even if they're sharp, it could be enable students to read. That's not specific. So we're looking for a specific.
Okay, so let me just count down. 3, 2, 1. Can I have a show of your fingers. Could I ask you to pull out your annotations, your annotation bar, and if you can use any color, any symbol, any marking you would like to choose to circle, highlight, underline anything in worksheet 1 that you think might look problematic to you. And if you can hold your sheet up in front of the webcam and hold it up in a steady way so we can all see it. I'd like you to think about the question that I've just asked. What makes a good teacher of English? And I'd like you to come up with a maximum of 5 words, but I'd like these 5 words to be adjectives. I give you 2 minutes maximum to type in. It doesn't have to be a long sentence. What you want to be doing is to define the word. What is a word? While at the same time, you want your definition to be as clear, as accurate, and indisputable as possible. If I could ask you now to go to the 3rd bit, and if you could type in maybe one message, something that you feel you got as a message from today. I think I am very much encouraged by your responses for what you have discovered about the importance of what we are learning in this session. Allow me to summarize this with one that I was looking at that I like very much. So let me refer you to that one as we attempt to draw some conclusions here. I would particularly like to draw your attention to this one that we are looking at right in front of us. So thank you, Helen, for your wonderful contribution, which I'd like to share with us all. Okay, I'm glad that quite a number of you got it right. Maybe let's hear from Team 6 first.
My group member thinks the examples in book C is more relevant to students' daily life.
I'm now going to open up the room so that you go to your slide and the one that represents your team's color, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes, after which we are going to come back and we will share our thoughts and draw some conclusions on the difference in the 2 teachers' roles, actions, strategy uses in interactive assessment versus conventional forms of assessment. So here you go.
We talked about how a traditional assessor focuses more on the result, so whether the performance was good or bad, and gives feedback after the performance.
Something, or how did you feel something? Because they are more, I don't know,
Personal.
they can describe it more easily than.
But I guess the reason why it's there is because, like, you can like and you cannot like it for very subjective reasons. And I think in a way that would be a question that is so-called easier than the others as well. We gave Roberto's feedback 8 likes. I think it's definitely helpful with the headers, like as we saw just now in Theodore's. The bullets make it clear, examples make it even more specific, the wrong and then the right makes it clear, which is nice. You're now going to be into a new breakout room. And in this new breakout room, you will meet members from the C, from the O, from the S, and from the T. At the beginning, you were in your home groups. There was the C group, there was the O group, there was the S group, and the T group. And then in the second round, you joined a new group where all the C's were separated into 4 different groups. The O's are in a different group, the S's and the T's. So there were, in fact, 6 groups altogether operating at the same time. We call this a jigsaw approach. And precisely what Jason was saying just now, when you move to the jigsaw group, everyone becomes an expert because you are the O expert, you are the C expert, you are the S expert, you are the T expert. From your earlier groups, you spend more time, a lot more time, looking at that area than other groups did. So Bethany, Betty, Caitlin, and Roberto, if I could ask the 4 of you to wear the panel chairperson's hat when you're reading it and to think about if you were to see Mr. Chan's marking in a book inspection situation, for example, and you had to meet Mr. Chan later on for appraisal, what would you tell Mr. Chan? What would you suggest to him? What would you recommend to him? Let me invite the panel chairpersons to lead the discussion and get everyone to be in their role as Pat or the teacher or the teacher's colleagues or the dad and mom, so that you really live out your expectations for the teacher. The gallery walk idea works like this. In the classroom, there are walls around it, of course. I would be putting the 10 sets of grammar materials that I've put now here in the 10 different rooms. Okay, if you are pair 1, start with set 1. If you're pair 2, move to the position of the classroom where set 2 has been posted. If you're in team 3, then go to where set 3 is, and I'd like you to spend 2 minutes just focusing on looking at that one. And I'll time them for 2 minutes. After 2 minutes, the students would all go in a circular movement to the next sheet. So which means maybe they spend 2 minutes, and if I'm in team 1, then 2 minutes here, 2 minutes here, and 2 minutes here. And this is exactly like what I would like you to do in a while. I was reading your entries and I'm very impressed by the level of critique you have shown in your evaluation analysis, as well as the constructive criticisms you gave those various sets of materials. Number 10, 12 votes, which means what we currently believe in is that set number 9 is the strongest. What I would like you to go back to think a little bit about is, do you really think, on second thoughts, if you had the chance to cast your votes again, do you really think 9 is the best? You will see that I've actually created a tab here, an opportunity for us to do some joint reflections midway through the course. We're now in session 4, so halfway through our sessions, and I thought it would be really, really nice to gather some of your views on how you found the sessions so far. How have you found the learning tasks, our learning experience through Zoom? What did you particularly like that we can do more of? What suggestions do you have on what we could do differently? So do log in. I hope that I can hear from every one of you. And just a few questions. You don't have to answer every question there, but I really, really appreciate hearing everyone's voice so that I can do my very best to tailor the course to best suit your needs in the 4 upcoming sessions. Video feedback is an attempt of mine to establish a rapport with my students, to help them overcome all the difficulties in this COVID-19 period, to give myself a stronger social presence as the teacher, and I'm very pleased with their responsiveness. All right, so here we are back from the viewing. What I now like you to be doing, having watched the video clip, is very much a combination of over 50 lessons of mine, maybe far more than that. What I would like us to be doing, if I could ask you to go back to your Menti, where we stopped at previously, and I'd like you to tell me at this point, I'd really like to hear some of your immediate thoughts, your immediate reactions. It could be anything that you would like to tell me. It could be a question. It could be any part of your sharing. It could be a comparison of what I'm doing with what you're doing. It could be anything that you would like to highlight, you would like to bring to our attention, something that you would like me to comment on, to share. Thanks for the very positive feedback, but do go ahead with any other thoughts that have come to your mind. Maybe was there something in particular that you felt you'd like us to explore further, you would like us to dig deeper into? Anything that intrigued you? Okay, I'll comment on these ideas as they pop up. I just see a comment, a big variety of apps. I think I am totally with, well, Miss Horn particularly mentioned it, that students would easily feel bored. I think it's not just that they feel bored, it's because we need to bear in mind that our students are maybe at home, maybe in an environment that's not ideal for learning because there might be other people around them. Some of them don't have a free space to themselves. So it's really important to find ways to engage them, to motivate them. I think we heard the word engagement a lot in the sharing by the teachers who talked about how mLang has helped them and in their lessons and their students in their learning during the pandemic situation. I just see something popping up on the screen. How did you come up with all these amazing activities? I've actually prepared a sheet which I will send to you through the chat afterwards with the apps that you saw on the screen that I used. These are just, I would say, maybe just 1/10 of them. How did I come up with them? I would say I would encourage you to actually work together with your colleagues at school. It's very much, I think for me, it's the collaborative effort of my PhD students, our in-service teachers, and me. We've been sharing a lot about our experiences, talking about what has worked, giving each other ideas about websites that we used that worked to great effect. And I'm sure in the school, maybe teacher A is using app A, teacher B is using app B. I'm sure there's a lot that you can be sharing with one another. Okay, I just saw a question about what happens on Stormboard if a naughty student messes things up. You can actually pin it. The teacher has the right to pin that memo or post it once you see it there and you don't want it to go. I know that it's slightly more challenging in a primary context. And so I might be also more mindful about which apps I'm going to be choosing and using. So yeah, I'm glad to see another comment about wanting to try these tools. I'll share the links with you and the page in a short while. motivation is definitely a key thing. And I would say it's not just the use of the apps, but it's how you balance it in a session. Well, I'm not too sure. We're actually a little halfway through our session. I think the way I planned this session was I was thinking, well, definitely not me talking for the whole lesson. So how do I space out teacher input in the real life classroom? How do I space out teacher input? How do I get them to benefit from experiences of multimodality? As Dr. Low mentioned just now, I think that's crucial to cater for diversified needs. And when do I bring in a video? When do I get students to do some online activities, engaging themselves in interactive platforms, and so on? Okay, I just saw a question about practicing grammar activities. Maybe I'll need to share more with this teacher later on, maybe with some websites, which I'm very happy to share with you. Okay, so I think most of these points here have been addressed to some extent, not to all. The platforms that I have shown you just now are all accessible in mainland China. In nearly every one of my courses, there are students from the mainland or from outside Hong Kong, and they haven't really mentioned it being a challenge. Maybe I'll introduce to you a platform afterwards when it comes to, I see a comment about reading. I saw a comment about grammar just now. I'd like to share them with you. And I just read one final comment here, maybe before we move on, about students enjoying computer games. My experience tells me that actually the best computer games are ones that we as teachers design for our students, because we know their ability best, we know what we have taught them, and we can really get them to experience and consolidate what they have learned with that. So with that, let me maybe move on to our, my next question for you, which would probably bring out my teaching philosophy and beliefs here. In the light of what you have watched, in the light of what I have responded to and discussed with you so far, I would like you to try to see if you can rank these 7 items, or 7 statements, if you wish, or phrases, if you wish, in the order of priority from what you have observed in the lessons and what I've tried to be doing from our discussion so far, from my sharing with you. What would you see to be important in the way I have managed my lessons and interactive activities, online teaching and learning? I'll give it another maybe up to a minute for you to think about what you have observed just now. The many tasks and activities and modes of interaction you saw on the screen, learner activities, online platforms being used. Okay, so I think I will pause it for now. I hope you don't mind if you haven't yet entered your thoughts here. Okay, so it seems that majority of us feel that among these 7 categories, the most important thing that I would value would be making lessons fun, interesting, and exciting. I would say if I really had to rank these, first of all, they're very much interrelated in a way. Sometimes when you say it's fun, interesting, and exciting, it might be related to classroom interaction and maybe related to a variety of activities. So I would say it's really, really difficult to rank all 7 of them. If I really had to rank them amongst all of these, I would say the one that I would give the lowest ranking to would be, you may be surprised to know, and that would be this one. Let me explain to you why. It says feedback given to students. If you remember towards the end of the clip, I think the reason why I really wanted to show you this is that I feel that in an online environment, all students learn differently. Unless they tell you how they are learning, how favorable or not favorable their home environment is, we won't really know. So yes, feedback given to students is important. And you also see, for example, on the video clip, examples of me getting the students to give each other hearts, give each other likes, thumbs up. And that would be like very much in line with the immediate feedback and the star cards idea that Ms. Hon and Ms. Liu mentioned to us just now. But other than that, I think it's also crucial really to find ways to hear from your students, maybe using any kind of online platform. You can use Menti, you can use Nearpod, you can use anything that you have in the platforms that you are using in your school, Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams, Schoology, OneNote, whichever you're using, to really sometimes get your students to let you know how they are finding their online lessons. Would it be too much for them? And one of the things that I would do usually at the start of my online lessons in my first session with my students, I would say there are 2 things that I would get them to do. The first thing that I would do is that I would create a virtual background which shows them my expectations for them so that we can jointly discuss and agree on how we would like our session to be like. The most recent one that I have used, which was very much inspired by a colleague of mine in the faculty, Dr. Kennedy Chan, is a background with students, lots of students, with happy faces, with lots of speech bubbles in all different colors. And that would be to bring out the message that I would hope that my lessons would be ones where you interact with me, we interact with one another, we appreciate each other's ideas, there might be dynamics in the classroom, there are different viewpoints, let's accept them, let's enjoy our classes, let's be engaged. So I think this kind of, we might have different expectations for our students, but maybe having this form of negotiation would be really useful. And that's where you would also get to hear from your students as to how they would like their sessions to be like. So one of the things that I would also do maybe at the start of my sessions, especially with my undergraduate students, and that would apply maybe to secondary students, I'm sure, would be to invite them in the very first session to bring together to class, not only to show themselves, I would encourage them to, but to choose a virtual background and bring it to class, one that they think best represents they themselves, so that they can share it with their peers and we can get to know each other better, or anything that you would want them to be conveying using this form of visual. So it's feedback that is both ways, I would say. Teacher giving the students feedback, but teacher also hearing more from the students. And with that, I would like to introduce to you the platform that that you saw on video just now, Perusal. Perusal is a platform which originally was designed for tertiary students. I'll send you the link, don't worry, afterwards. It's originally designed for tertiary students, but then I think for the past few months, I've been exploring and working with a number of secondary teachers, especially junior secondary, on how they can use that platform to teach reading and to teach grammar, because it's a platform basically that allows for synchronous and asynchronous interactions. You can annotate anything there, and with the annotations that leads to dialogues, and the dialogues all come with very interesting emojis, like when you're using WhatsApp, WeChat messages, like when you're using like Facebook, Instagram, chats and messaging. So that would be one of the things that we can also do to get students to really give us feedback on how they're learning, give one another feedback. I can't agree more with what was said just now about the immediate feedback when they actually discuss, for example, if you maybe assign students to be working in groups of 3 or groups of 4, each responsible for one question, like class numbers 1 to 5, do question 1, class number 6 to 10, do question 2, whether it is grammar, whether it's vocabulary, they mark the correct answer and they discuss amongst themselves, and the teacher sees the interactions immediately coming up. So explore it is actually quite a user-friendly one. I'll send you the link as I mentioned later on. But while I am saying that, I think I'd also like to highlight the second thing, which is very much in relation to what I've mentioned just now, and that is I see here that amongst these 7 things, this is rated the lowest. In fact, I would put catering for learner diversity quite high on the list. When if you remember what I said to you just now, when I first started teaching online, I began asking myself, how do I simulate a real life classroom? But as time went on, what I discovered was that there is actually a very complex and dynamic relationship between grammar, between pedagogy and technology. And there is a lot that actually you can do online that you might not have discovered or might not have been able to do face-to-face. And that is when I began realizing that, in fact, if we're able to use synchronous and asynchronous modes in combination, skillfully, tactfully, sensitively, it might allow us to get more out of our students. The mLang team has one of their mottos, leave no student behind or leave no child behind. One of my mottos is to leave no voice unheard. I think you saw it just now on the screen a little bit. And that's why I think when I talk about, that's why I say they're all related. When I say catering for diversity, I'm thinking more about how do I get every student's voice to be heard. I think if I were teaching in a primary classroom, if I were teaching in a secondary classroom, and I've recently seen a lesson, which is a marvelous lesson, where the teacher said, okay, let me know through whatever means. I want everyone to respond, but let me know what your answer is. You can either type in chat, you can either unmute yourself and voice your views, you can either surf the net and find me something visual and share screen and show it with me. You can use your bodily gestures if you wish. You can even I'm sure some of you maybe in the primary school might have played scavenger hunt with your students, and then in a maybe online Zoom environment, asking them to find something and show it to you. So that teacher also allowed that to happen. So within the split of a second, basically the auditory learners could express themselves, the visual learners could write out their answers, and of course the linguistically more competent ones could do that. The kinesthetic learners, the hands-on learners, can show or share screen. The interpersonal can voice out their views. The intrapersonal can be typing because they might need more time to think and they might be a little bit more shy in expressing themselves. And since I'm talking about multiple intelligences here, I think what Dr. Low, what Kai did just now during the break, the music bit is something that I found to be extremely, extremely helpful. Almost all of my students in all classes say they like it when I start playing music 5 minutes before the lesson begins. So they actually ease into the lesson, feel more relaxed rather than like being in a dead air waiting for everyone. And during the break, there is the music and so on. So it's actually a number of things that I'm doing. It's really difficult for me to cover all these aspects all in one go. But I think the key message that I would like to highlight is, as I said right at the beginning, I think it's important in an online teaching environment that our students and we see ourselves as a learning community, that there is still warmth, that there is still connectedness, there is still togetherness. And so in the video clips just now, you may have heard me calling, of course, these names are unfamiliar to you, but I feel that using names is even more important in an online classroom to get the students to connect themselves with what everyone has said and to make the students realize that you appreciate what they're actually saying when you say, oh, so and so mentioned this. Would you agree with him or her? Oh, they both think so. Do you think otherwise? So that would be something that I'm also trying very hard to achieve. And I think what I'm also trying very hard to do, again, going back to the idea about it's everything again, it's the variety of activities. I think relying on online apps is one of the things we can do, but it's not the ultimate goal or the solution to everything. So, dealing with classroom interaction through different ways is helpful. For example, by getting students to, you'll see examples of different ways of jigsaw learning, role plays, getting students to have very clearly defined goals. So when they go into a breakout room, someone, like in that case, because there's a group of teachers, the one wearing the panel chairperson's hat that has been assigned to him or her is responsible for sharing the discussion. The parent is responsible for reporting, and so on. I think all these roles or clearly defined goals for our students would be extremely crucial, and also the sharing of responsibilities. Okay, I know my time has come to the end. Let me just stop sharing here to make sure I know that I haven't yet addressed your questions. Let me ask Jessica, how would you like us to proceed to the next part? Would you like to?
Thank you so much for your sharing, Nicole. Like, it's really amazing. There are so many tools that you have used I've never heard of. I will try it out after the workshop for sure. Because I always believe like students are different, like you said, like they learn differently, and you don't really know how they're doing while they're learning online, because we have partnership teachers reflecting that like there are some, like it's been really challenging for them to get students hand in homework, get them motivated, and get them engaged in the online lessons. But in your lessons, I wish I met you when I was doing my PGDE. Then I would be very engaging in my PGDE lessons. So I echo the learning community, like connectedness. That's very important. Like you learn with the students, you empower them, you engage them, you let them be heard and be like an independent learners eventually, and be like, I like how you set yourself as a role model to demonstrate how teaching should be done, or how teaching shall be done, or how teaching can be modified from time to time. So I love it. Yeah, thank you so much. We have like, before we move on, there are actually many questions for you, Nicole. So I gather them from the chat box.
I actually have a lot in my Menti that I haven't yet addressed as well. But before that, I know we have to address these questions. I've just sent to everyone through the chat that you saw on the video clip, if you would like to use any one of them. And I also sent you a second link, which is to an article which I have recently published together with Professor Amy Cho, who has very kindly invited me to co-author this paper with her. And it's given me a lot of opportunities to reflect on how I can do what I can do in an online environment that I may not be able to do in a real life face-to-face environment. So it's a very short text, with lots of examples and hands-on experiences. So it's not an academic reading. Do click in when you have the time to explore it a little bit.
Nicole, you may want to send to everyone. It's a direct message to me.
Oh, really?
I feel honored.
I'm okay. Sorry.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
send it to everyone.
I'm so special.
Thanks for letting me know. Okay.
It's okay.
It's interesting. I don't know why it got to you only. Okay,
No
so
problem.
here is the file. Everyone might be asking, where is the file? Yes, so the file to everyone that you're getting now, and the link to the article that I mentioned that has recently been published. I'm wondering, yes, with regard to answering the questions, I'm thinking whether we should go with the Mentimeter ones first, because
Sure, why not?
yeah, okay,
Sure,
so
why not?
let me share my screen with us all then. And hold on. Okay, yes. So yeah, I'm suggesting we begin with the Mentimeter questions, because in Mentimeter, you are allowed to give thumbs up. So the more thumbs up there are, the more questions we have. So that's why, yeah, I thought maybe it's a good idea for us to begin from here. So 34 of you are interested in, can you use the chat function on Zoom or chat room? By that, I think I need clarification. Chat room function on Zoom? Breakout rooms? I think this question means, does it?
All teachers, you feel free to unmute yourself and
Yeah.
ask question if
For
you want to. I think they mean, yeah, the break room, because chat room function, we all know that we can use it on Zoom. We're currently using it.
Yeah, and I think over the past few months in Google Meet, there is also the breakout room function, which has been created, which I think is great. And I would strongly encourage teachers. In fact, I'm trying to interpret this question, so feel free to unmute yourself to let me know other thoughts. But I think from my own experience, talking to primary and secondary school teachers, some of them are actually a little bit reluctant to ask questions, to get students to work in breakout rooms, because they worry that they might go off task. But I think from my own experience, well, something that you saw on video just now, I would give them, if you saw my rainbow PowerPoint slides, that is something that my students have very often mentioned or given me good feedback on. And by the rainbow slides, it actually just means that we color code the slides, so that maybe the red group just uses the red slide, the orange group uses the orange slide, the yellow group uses the yellow slide. But the advantage of that is that as the teacher, you cannot be joining every breakout room at the same time, but then on one slide in one document, you get to see every group in action already. So within one document, you can monitor them and you can go in right at the right time to help the group that really needs help. So I think it's just how you organize the breakout rooms in order to encourage them to really be participating and be engaged. Jessica, do we see any clarification to this?
I have one really good question. In like from teacher child in primary or secondary setting, with the pressure of exam and a lot to cover, how can we strike a balance between e-learning activities and teachers' input? Or you can choose any question on the Menti.
Okay, no, I think I'll address your question first. Balancing online teaching and input. I would say in an online environment, many teachers, many of my colleagues have said that, well, basically we are not able to cover as much as in a real life classroom setting. And just yesterday evening, I had a teacher tell me that his students were learning a particular grammar item, present and past participles, online. And when they were being tested, he realized that they actually haven't mastered it and he needs to teach it again. I think in an online environment, what we are tempted to do is to be doing it one way, as I saw just now in the cloud word cloud, we tend to rush. We tend to want to give our students as much input as possible. But I think in an online environment, the key thing is to really consider giving our students space, opening up some time for maybe core and optional activities so that you really have time to hear from your students, engage them in coming up with answers. And I think, I'm not sure if that directly addresses the question, but I think if at one point we have to go back to all online teaching and learning, I think that is an approach that I would like to encourage us to take.
Right. I think it's about prioritizing, like priority, how you priority the core, and like you have to think through the lesson plan between the core and the kind of electives input. Is that what you meant? Yeah. Another question from Ms. Wong. I think you kind of answered that too. Ms. Wong is teaching English for junior level students. They have great learners diversity, and also they're very weak in English. They don't submit work through e-platform. So she's asking for your suggestion to motivate them. I think it goes back to like here. Anyways, sorry, your turn.
No, what immediately comes to my mind would be, well, in a primary environment, I would think of finding ways to give them that motivation through maybe social motivation. The platform that immediately comes to my mind would be Class Dojo. And it's a platform where every time students do something good, you can record it. You can create your own. Let me see if I could just type it in case anyone needs it. It's one where you can easily just create your own criteria to award students for it. And I think very often in an online environment, because they just feel so lonely and they feel, oh, no one is monitoring me, it's okay if I don't do my work. So I think they really need that immediate positive feedback. And I think Class Dojo, if you try it out on your own, it's actually linked to you can enter parents' emails there as well. So when students get acknowledged for their efforts, their parents can also receive emails if you activate that function in it. And I think from what I hear from primary teachers, it's something that really motivates them. So that would be one of the immediate thoughts that comes to my mind.
Yeah, I heard about Class Dojo a lot, and primary teachers do use that a lot too. It's a very interactive and fun platform, I would say.
Yes, and it helps with grouping.
Yeah. Next question. But how do we open from Megan? How do we open up more time with only 30-minute lessons? Yeah, I think that's everybody's facing with tightened lesson time.
But I do feel, especially
in response. Sorry, this is Megan. Hi. This is in response to your exam thing, because I think exams are the main concern right now.
Thank you, Megan.
We just had the GSE formative assessments this week, and we only have 30 minutes with the kids. How are we supposed to open up more time if we only get 30 minutes per week with each level?
Well, I think this is a very practical question. It's something that all teachers are facing. Well, I think for myself, what I believe in, if we were to bring in like online teaching, or if we have to do online teaching, it's still the less is more model, as to like being very selective or judicious about what exact lesson objective do we want to achieve in a 30-minute lesson, which I think many teachers are facing now. Maybe having just one clear objective in mind would be the most helpful. And with that objective, how we balance it out with maybe some of the tasks and activities that you saw in the video just now. While if we are able to spare time for more, what I found to be really useful, and that's what I didn't have the chance to share more about with you just now, but you saw it a little bit on video, in my video. I think the video input part is really useful. And when I first started doing video feedback for my students. I thought that's going to take a lot more time. How can I spare so much time for it? But then what I realized is, especially in under the pandemic, when students are on their own at home, simply getting to hear the teacher's voice, simply getting to feel that the teacher is speaking to them, no matter how candid, how spontaneous, how impromptu it is that you're actually delivering what you are delivering or saying to the students, they actually find it really helpful. So I think it's for me, it's an effective strategy, and it's also an efficient strategy to deliver maybe short stretches of what you would like to say to the students or what you would like to teach them, even if it's just a 5-minute clip. So I think I would maybe encourage us to consider this as a possibility.
Thank you, Nicole. Any more questions for Nicole? Oh, there's one from, I think we have limited time. Last question.
No.
How can we cater for the learning needs of weak and SEN students in their online lessons? I realized that they learned much less than in face-to-face lessons, and we couldn't stay them behind after school in a class suspension period. I think this one of the partnership schools we're working with this year. We are collaborating with them with 2 classes of SEN kids. It's like 12 for each class. So what they're doing is they still do online lessons, but they ask their parents to collect homeworks more. Like they invite their parents to come to school to hand in their homework and to give feedback through papers, because they're from low income family. It's very hard for them to be able to monitor the progress of them. So if it's possible, if parents picking up homework might help them a bit. And also our platform can allow students, we offer parents workshop as well. So if we can do Zoom or in-person parents workshop, and that helps the students who are weak, the parents can help them a bit in monitoring and helping them to do the homework. I hope it helps answering your question. This is just one of the approach that one of our partnership schools is adopting at this moment. And it's been challenging for everyone and they like to teach weak students, I think, and they are suffering as well. So I'm moving back. Thank you, Nicole, for your sharing. It's really, really amazing. And just a very quick wrap up. We have 4 minutes left. So among all the teaching tools, like I'm not in service, not kind of in service. I was a frontline teacher. I come across many, many tools. So while considering which IT tool to adopt, you don't need to answer me. I think we may want to think about what are the ultimate goals for the students to achieve, and what levels do you want your students to achieve? Do you want your students to achieve higher order thinking, and how you can push them, or how you can set learning materials for them to let them achieve to that level step by step? I think that's one of the idea I have in mind all the time when I was teaching both secondary school and primary school. I would set some goals and objectives in mind, and I try to achieve it step by step. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's always experimental for me. And we don't have time for this for sure. So we've done this. So just I'll pass the time to Dr. Low to tell we actually have more services provided by us to learn a second language and cross-disciplinary learning. Thank you, Dr. Low.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you all for attending this workshop. I would like to thank all the speakers because they have taken so much time to prepare for this sharing and to wrap up what they found useful and interesting and effective in their online classes. And I'm being inspired and feel exciting and really want to use some of the tools that are found would be helpful to improve my own teaching as well. I'm not saying that the pedagogy or the e-learning tool we share today is the only tools to be used in your class and the only effective way to teach a second language, but we just try to stimulate our own thinking and hope that having this kind of professional communication and the platform, we can improve, we can learn from each other's experience, and we can make our teaching and learning more effective and engaging, and helping all students, no matter what their language proficiency is, can learn and enjoy the lesson as much as they can. Other than helping students and teachers to teach and learn English as a second language, we also support teachers and schools to teach Chinese as a second language for ethnic minority students. So if you are interested in this particular area, you may contact us after this workshop. And this year, we also supporting ethnic minority students, mainly from the junior secondary schools, to learn Chinese history in Chinese. And this is an EDB project. So we are collaborating them and further explore how much we can do to support this group of struggling students. So the performance is, and maybe we can hear a little bit.
我覺得秦子宏唔係一個好人，因為佢的規則係好嚴厲，和佢的性格係好自私。
So Chinese history is even more challenging than learning Chinese, and because they need to memorize a lot of information and need to be very accurate and then recite them in the test and exam, and a lot of terminology which we seldom use in our daily life, not to say for ethnic minorities students. So how can we help them to just understand these vocabularies, and also the meaning of the text is a big problem. So we hope that we can learn from your experience and make our work better. And under the pandemic, we observed that school doing a lot of 順豐 works and packaging the learning materials, printing out a lot of worksheets, and then inviting parents come back to pick the learning package back. And then 1 week later, the student hand in the work, and then the teachers can mark. So this delay of feedback is not desirable, and also quite time consuming, because parents need to travel between the school and the home, even they are very busy for their work. So we developed this Homework Easy platform. Teachers can just send the worksheet to the student, and they can read it on their devices and then complete it. Even it is a paper format, like workbook they already bought, and then they can take photo, upload to the platform, and teachers can use the computer, laptop, or iPad to mark. We also have analytic function that the grade, the marks, and can be downloaded as Excel file, and for the monitoring of students' learning progress. So we hope that this can ease teachers and the parents' work. And this platform can also help school to achieve the assessment as for and of learning. So we hope that teachers' assessment literacy can also be developed even under this school suspension period and the pandemic. Yes, this is one of the example. You can use a different annotation to tell how the student perform. So just like what Nicole mentioned, no children's voice should be unheard, and as well as the teacher's feedback. During the pandemic, I know a lot of teachers like traveling during the school holiday. You would also arrange a lot of study tours for your students. But since the pandemic is still evolving, I don't think this is a possible opportunity to many of us. So we develop, and next please, Jessica, 下一頁唔該. So we created and developed a virtual Egypt tour for school. If you think this kind of virtual tour is a possible way for students to experience the Egypt technology and culture. We would use AR and VR for students to experience the journey, but this is not just the end of the journey, but the start of the interest of STEM learning. So this is a beginning level and making students to be interested about the technology that we are enjoying in our daily life, but think more about the theories and the technology and the skills behind the tech that we are enjoying. So we offer intermediate and advanced courses so that students can learn how to create a little bit AR and VR products and using the 3D printing as well. And for the advanced group, we would teach the student how to use design thinking and to identify a problem from their community and using the technology they learn from the tutors and propose a solution to solve that problem that they have identified. And by the end, we would offer a show day, then they can present their end product and having the others feedback. And the slide Jessica just shown was an analytic platform that for formative assessment, summative assessment purpose. We know that during the pandemic, students, only 1/3, later on will be 2/3 of them can go back to the school. If we want to assess students' performance, I think this is a must. Education is not for examination, but we should have examination. So using this platform can help teachers easily collect students' performance, including reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So we try our very best to cater to teachers and schools' teaching needs and welcome feedback so that we can improve and enhance our support. So this is the end.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lo. Yeah, I was like trying to mediate the chat request. Sorry about that. The Homework Easy platform is good because like you have to carry papers around, even though it's not pandemic. Like I when I was teaching, I need to carry the workbooks and worksheets of students to home to mark. But then if you use an e-platform, you can compile them. You can have data generate for you to have an evidence-based approach to adjust your teaching approach. And of course, there are so many tools. So like Dr. Law said, we are just one of the tools. And it's like, feel free to try to use your account. And for the information like Nicole has shared, and other speakers have shared, I will upload it on the Google Drive. So please check 30 minutes after the Google Drive. I should have uploaded all the PDF files on it. And any more questions? If there's no more question, thank you so much for all your participation. Please fill in the questionnaire to get your certificate of attendance. And we would love to hear your invaluable feedback. And we look forward to seeing all of you in our future workshops, seminars, and meetings, workshops, and any kind of possible meetings that we open to the public. Thank you so much and have a great weekend.
And before you go, I would like to wish you all a great weekend. And I want to take this opportunity to thank all of your participation and my wonderful team because their contribution, we can make our dreams come true. Thank you. Thank you very much.